Well, hi, all my LGBT friends and others. I just wanted to read a few little chapters here in Leviticus on Sabbath day and get going with that. I believe that we left off at chapter 3. So, oh, sorry about that. There went my camera. Okay. All right, chapter 3. So, it starts off with the peace offering of the herd of the flock, whether a lamb or a goat. It has to be unblemished, and it's just what to do with this sacrifice. And so as Christians, I'm glad we don't have to do this anymore. Okay, so, and if his obligation be a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether it be a male or female, he should offer it without blemish before the Lord. He shall lay his hand upon the head of the offering, kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Aaron and his sons, the priests, shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about. I think I already read this part. Okay, sorry about that. Let's jump to chapter 4. If I haven't, I'll reread it in another video. Okay. The sin offering of ignorance for the priest, for the congregation, for a ruler, for any of the people. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord, concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them, if the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin which he has sinned a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering. And he shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head, and kill the bullock before the Lord. And the priest that is anointed shall take the bullock's blood and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood, sprinkle the blood 7 times before the Lord, before the veil of the sanctuary. And the priest shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar of the sweet incense before the Lord, which is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and then shall pour all the blood of the bullock at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall take off from it the fat of the bullock for the sin offering, and the fat of that covereth the innards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver. With the kidneys it shall be taken away. And it was taken off from the bullock of the sacrifice of the peace offering, and the priest shall burn them upon the altar for the burnt offering. And the skin of the bullock, and all of its flesh, with its head, and its legs, and inwards, and its dung. Even the whole bullock shall be carried forth without the camp unto a clean place, where the ashes are poured out, and burn him on the wood with fire. Where the ashes are poured out shall he be burnt. And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the thing he hid from the eyes of the assembly, and have done somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty. And when the sin which thou hast sinned against it is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin. and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullock before the Lord, and the bullock shall be killed before the Lord. And the priest that is anointed shall bring out of the bullock's blood of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall dip his finger in some of the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before the Lord, even before the veil. And he shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar, which is before the Lord, that is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall pour out all of the blood at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall take all of his fat from him, and burn it upon the altar. And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for sin offering, so shall he do with this, and the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them. And he shall carry forth the bullock throughout the camp, and burn him as he burned the first bullock. It is a sin offering for the congregation. And when the ruler hath sinned and done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord his God concerning things which should not be done, and is guilty, or if his sin wherein he hath sinned come to knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a male without blemish, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of the goat and kill it in the place where they kill it burnt offering before the Lord. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and shall pour out his blood at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, and he shall burn all of his fat upon the altar, fat of the sacrifice of peace offering, and the priest shall and must an atonement for him as concerning his sins, and it shall be forgiven him. And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doth somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord, concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty, or of sin which he hath sinned come to his knowledge, then he shall bring him offering, a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin which he hath sinned. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and lay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of a burnt offering, and shall pour out all of the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, and the fat is taken away off the sacrifice of a peace offering. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor, unto the Lord. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. And if he bring a lamb for a sin offering, he shall bring it a female without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and slay it for a sin offering in place where they kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall of the blood of the sin offering with his finger put it upon the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat of the lamb is taken away from the sacrifice of the peace offering, and the priest shall burn them upon the altar, according to the offering made by fire unto the Lord. And the priest shall make an atonement for his sin that he hath committed, and it shall be forgiven him. So, these are kind of long chapters. I'm going to try this. Chapter 5, trespass offerings, one that concealeth knowledge in touching an unclean thing, or making an oath, the trespass offering to sacrilege, and in sins of ignorance. And if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, is a witness whether he hath seen or known of it. If he do not utter it, then he shall bear the iniquity. Or if a soul touch any unclean thing, where it be a carcass or an unclean beast, or a carcass of unclean cattle, or things, and if it be hidden from him, he shall also be unclean and guilty. Or if he touch the uncleanness of man, whoever uncleanness it be, that a man shall be defiled within, then it be hid from him. When he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty. Or if a soul sweareth pronouncing with his lips to do evil, or to do good, whatsoever it be, that a man shall pronounce with an oath, and he hid it from him, and he knoweth of it, then he shall be guilty in one of these. And it shall be, when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he hath sinned in that thing. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord for his sin, which he hath sinned, a female from the flock, a lamb or a kid of the goats, for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sin. And if he's not able to bring a lamb or a young pigeon unto the Lord, for one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, he shall bring them unto the priest, who shall then offer that which is of the sin offering first, wring off his head from the neck, but shall not divide it asunder. And he shall sprinkle the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be wrung out at the bottom of the altar, for it is a sin offering. And he shall offer the second for a burnt offering, according to the manner, and the priest shall make an atonement for him for his sin which he has sinned, and it shall be forgiven him. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons that he had sinned, shall bring for his offering 1/10 part of an ephah of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. And then shall he bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it, even a memorial thereof, and burn it on the altar according to the offerings made by fire unto the Lord. It is a sin offering. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, If a soul commits a trespass, a sin through ignorance, in the holy things of the Lord, then he shall bring for his trespass unto the Lord a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with thy estimation by shekels of silver, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for a trespass offering. And he shall make amends for the harm that he hath done in the holy thing, and shall add the 5th part thereof, and give it unto the priest, and the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering, and it shall be forgiven him. And I'm going to stop right here at chapter 5, verse up to 16. Okay, so I'm so glad that we don't have to do that anymore. Christ, is our atonement for sin. That's why Jesus is so important, that you accept him into your heart and ask him to forgive you of your sins, and your sins will all be forgiven. Okay, thank you. Have the great rest of your week. Be safe out there. Thanks. Bye-bye.